Today's lesson is Plus Talk, meeting new people. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Helen. And today we're going to continue talking about meeting new people. What happened in the first lesson was Jamie and Evan met each other and struck up a conversation at Kathy's birthday party. Jamie didn't know anyone at the party, so she approached Evan and asked if she could join him.
Indeed. So Jamie knows Kathy and Evan knows Kathy, but Jamie and Evan don't know each other. At least they didn't know each other, but now they do because they've been having a conversation. They are breaking the ice as they did in Act 1. But they're going to continue with their conversation. Of course, after you meet somebody and you talk about your names and where you're from and stuff like that, then you need to find common interests, things that you're both interested in that you can talk about. Maybe you're both interested in computer programming or in English Premier League soccer or something like that. You can try to find these common interests, and then you can really have a meaningful conversation. So let's see if they find things that they have in common in Act 2, finding common interests.
Act 2, finding common interests. Jamie and Evan continue getting to know each other.
So, what do you like to do in your free time?
I'm a huge movie buff. I have a soft spot for indie movies and go to film festivals every chance I get. I plan to major in cinematography.
I totally get the appeal. I'm into photography myself, so I really appreciate the elements of visual composition.
各位好，第一部分我们看到的单字是名词 buff， 指爱好者或行家、迷。例如 Ben is a history buff, so he enjoys period movies very much. Ben 是个历史迷，所以他非常喜欢看古装电影。而 buff 这个字除了当名词使用，也可以当动词使用，指磨光或擦亮。所以可以说 Tom had his car washed, waxed and buffed. Tom 洗车打蜡再擦亮。接着我们看到片语 have a soft spot for， 表示钟爱点点点或无法解释的特别喜爱某事物。Soft spot 指伤感与柔弱的感觉，要表示某人对某事物有着一份怜惜喜爱。举例来说 I don't usually like children, but I have a soft spot for my niece. 我通常不喜欢小孩，但我特别喜爱我侄女。另外补充两个与 spot 相关的片语，第一个是 hit the spot，指切合某人需要或来的正是时候，字面意思为切中要害，常用于某人非常口渴时，像是 A glass of cold lemonade really hits the spot on a hot day. 大热天来杯冰凉的柠檬水真是再好不过了。第二个是 on the spot， 表示当场或立刻，可以说 When the employee was caught stealing, he was fired on the spot. 那名员工被抓到偷窃时，当场就被开除了。再来我们看到单字 cinematography， 这个字是名词，指电影摄影、电影制作方式。例如 The director wants several awards for his special cinematography. 这位导演特殊的电影制作方式使他赢得了几项大奖。接下来看到名词 photography， 指摄影、照相术，像是 Kevin teaches photography at the community center. Kevin 在社区活动中心教授摄影。另外补充两个与 photography 相关的单字，第一个是 photograph， P-H-O-T-O-G-R-A-P-H photograph 可以当名词也可以当动词，当名词时指照片、相片。例如 Lynn loves the photographs she took with her friends and family at her wedding. Lynn 很喜欢在她婚礼时与亲朋好友所拍下的照片。而当动词时有拍照之意，举例来说Judith photographed the sunset from the top of the hill. Judith 在山顶上拍摄夕阳的照片。第二个是 photographer, P-H-O-T-O-G-R-A-P-H-E-R, photographer. 这个字是名词，指摄影师，所以可以说 Linda dreams to be a professional photographer when she grows up. Linda 梦想在长大之后可以成为一位职业摄影师。最后我们看到一个单字 composition， 这个字为名词，当不可数名词时指绘画或照片等的构图、构思。例如 Sam learned a great deal about composition and perspective in his first year of fine art degree. Sam 在他念第一年艺术学位时，学习许多关于构图与透视图法的知识。另外 composition 当可数名词时则有作曲或作品之意，可以说 Most people are familiar with Mozart's classical compositions. 大部分的人对于莫扎特的经典作品感到熟悉。
And in Act 2, Finding Common Interests, we have Jamie and Evan continuing to get to know each other. And Evan asks Jamie, so what do you like to do in your free time? And Jamie says, I'm a huge movie buff. I have a soft spot for indie movies and go to film festivals every chance I get.
Okay, so that is one of her interests. So indeed, if you're trying to find common interests, you need to ask these sorts of questions. What do you like to do in your free time? I suppose you could also ask somebody what they do for a living, but that's your job, and sometimes people just don't like to talk about their jobs. What they really want to talk about is the things they're interested in, the things that they do in their free time. Now, if you really like something, you can describe yourself as being a buff, a movie buff, or a science fiction buff. You really like these things. You are a big fan of those things.
Right, you could be a gardening buff if you really love gardening. And to be a movie buff means you really like movies or you have a soft spot for movies. In Jamie's particular case, she has a soft spot for indie movies, and that is a particular type of movie. Indie movies, for instance, are produced and sold by usually small independent companies, and they're usually made with less money, and often they have more creative freedom because it's not controlled by big production companies like big Hollywood companies. So they're called indie movies.
Right, and you'll often see indie movies at various film festivals, and I think there's a big film festival here in Taipei that takes place every year where you can see lots of indie movies. We also have indie rock, kind of alternative rock and roll music that you're not going to hear on the radio. It's something that not a lot of people listen to, but the people who do listen to it really, really love it. And again, to have a soft spot for something means you really like that thing. If somebody mentions that subject, it gives you a special feeling. Like for me, I have a soft spot for Chinese temples. I just love to go to them. I love to look at the carvings and the art and the deities. There's just so much to see and do in Chinese temples. I could spend hours there looking at all the art and stuff like that. Do you have a soft spot for anything, Helen?
My soft spots are usually for types of food, so I have a soft spot for durian. And I know a lot of people hate durian, hate the smell, the taste, but every time durian season comes along, I'm just happy.
Yeah, I like durian myself. I don't really love it, but I don't hate it either. If somebody offers me some durian, I'll have it. But, I'm not a durian buff or a big fan of durian. And you have a soft spot for cooking as well. So indeed, I guess that might be something that they have in common, an interest in films there. So again, she says that she is a film buff. And here's what she goes on to say. She says, I plan to major in cinematography. And if you're going to university and you're talking about your main course of study, you say, you major in that, or I am majoring in something. Like, what is your major? I'm pre-law. I'm going to be going to law school when I get to graduate school, or I'm majoring in biology, or I'm majoring in English literature, etc. She's going to major in cinematography.
And that would be the study of film. So it could be the study of the history of film, how films are made. Anything related to film, to cinema, would be considered cinematography.
Right, making movies, basically. And Evan says, I totally get the appeal, which means I can totally relate to that. I can understand why you find cinematography appealing. If something's appealing, or if you're talking about the appeal, that's just referring to the attraction of something.
And the reason why Evan can relate to cinematography, why he gets the appeal, is that he is into photography himself. He says, I'm into photography myself, so I really appreciate the elements of visual composition. So we have 3 vocabulary words in here. Photography, of course, refers to the skill, job, or process of taking photographs or using a camera to record scenes. So you can take photography lessons, for instance, in your spare time or even in college. And visual here related to things that you can see. So painting, drawing, photography, sculpture, these are all part of the visual arts. And the last one, composition, is the way that separate parts of a painting or photograph are arranged.
Right, so you can be a good artist, for example. You know how to paint, but maybe you don't have good composition skills. How do you put a painting together? How do you determine your subject matter and where you place it in the painting? That's all about composition. Composition can also refer to when you write something. For example, back in high school, I took a composition class. That was a class that taught me how to write essays because that's a necessary skill that you need if you're going to go to university or to look for a job later. You need to know how to write a composition, but here composition also applies to photography, to cinematography, and I guess Evan and Jamie have that in common. They like the visual arts. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson. Let's listen to the next part.
I have a friend who's into photography too. You should meet her so you can compare notes. In fact, she told me she was coming tonight. Do you want me to introduce you?
Sure. It's always great to meet people with similar interests.
Let me go find her, and I'll be right back. Evan! Good to see you again. It's been a while.
So in the last part, Jamie and Evan talk about their interests and they find that they have some things in common. Jamie is interested in cinematography and Evan is interested in photography. And here Jamie says, I have a friend who's into photography too. You should meet her so you can compare notes. So compare notes here is basically the exchange of ideas, opinions, or information about a particular subject. So Jamie says that she has this friend who's interested in photography and Evan should meet her so that they can both talk about their mutual interest.
Right. Notice here she says her friend is into photography. That means her friend is interested in photography. You can say this if you have an interest about something. I'm really into punk rock. I like to listen to various punk rock groups from the 70s, for example. I really like that kind of music. The Ramones, etc., etc. Those are different kinds of bands there, or at least one band there, a punk rock band. I'm into punk rock. I'm into jazz. I'm into impressionism, etc. And here she has a friend who's into photography. And she thinks Evan should meet her so they can have a discussion about photography. They can compare notes. They can exchange ideas. In fact, she goes on to say, she told me she was coming tonight. Do you want me to introduce you? So yes, in fact, she's supposed to be here at this party. Would you like to meet her?
And Evan says, sure, it's always great to meet people with similar interests. So Evan is interested in meeting Jamie's friend, and Jamie says, let me go find her and I'll be right back. So Jamie leaves for a while, finds her friend, whose name is Claire, and returns to Evan. And when Claire sees Evan, she says, Evan, good to see you again. It's been a while. And the two hug each other.
Oh, isn't it a small world? It turns out that Evan and Claire already know each other, so they're not really meeting new people, but still, they're good friends and they haven't seen each other for a while. And they give each other a big hug. Oh, I'm so choked up about this. Okay, let's move on now to the third and final part of our lesson. We will listen to it first.
Wait, you two already know each other?
Yeah, we're both in the photography club at school. How do you know Claire?
Kathy introduced us last year when I ran into them at an art museum. Speaking of that museum, it has a great photography exhibit coming up. We should go see it.
I'd love to. Can I add you on Facebook, Jamie, so we can make a group chat?
It was great meeting you, Evan, but I should go wish Kathy a happy birthday. I look forward to seeing you again.
And Jamie is surprised that Evan and Claire know each other, so she says, "Wait, you already know each other?" And Evan replies, "Yeah, we're both in the photography club at school. How do you know Claire?"
Interesting. So they're both in the camera club. They're both in the photography club at school. I guess they meet after school. And maybe they had an assignment or something. They were supposed to take some pictures, and now they're going to look at each other's pictures and comment on each other's pictures. That's what they do in the photography club. I wasn't really in a photography club myself at school. I was, writing for the school newspaper, but we did often compare notes. And that was something similar. You can discuss things that you have in common if you're a member of the same club.
And then Evan asks Jamie, "How do you know Claire?" And Jamie says, "Kathy introduced us last year when I ran into them at an art museum."
Okay, so I guess they're all telling each other how they know each other. In this particular case, they met at an art museum. They went there to look at paintings or sculptures or something like that. So that's where they were introduced to each other. My goodness, they already know each other. This is probably the best birthday party that all of them have ever been to.
Right. It turns out that they're not really that unknown to each other because they do have common interests and they have met each other before. So Claire now adds, speaking of that museum, it has a great photography exhibit coming up. We should go see it.
An exhibit. It could also be called an exhibition about photography. So maybe some famous photographers are displaying their work at that museum. And yeah, they should go because they both like photography and they both will probably enjoy going to that photo exhibition. And then afterwards, they can go have coffee and talk about it, and they will become the best of friends.
It does seem like they're striking up a good friendship. Evan says, "I'd love to. Can I add you on Facebook, Jamie, so we can make a group chat?" And Jamie and Evan exchange contact information.
So they're going to friend each other on Facebook. To me, that's a bad move because now they're just going to send texts to each other and they're not actually going to talk face-to-face so much. But who knows? Maybe it's a good way for them to keep in touch and to discuss photography, like what cameras to use, which lenses, whether or not to use a tripod, maybe to use some color correction filters. Who knows? But they're going to discuss these things on Facebook. I think they should still get together and chat about things face to face. But again, as Helen just said here, they exchange contact information. And now it's time for them to kind of wrap up their conversation.
Yeah, and I would say that suggesting a group chat on Facebook is a pretty good way of wrapping up because with the group chat, you can plan your meeting. You can decide where to meet, when to meet, so that everything's clear. And also, you may want to move on in this party and start talking to somebody else. So you can say, all right, well, I'll get in touch with you on Facebook. Catch you later. I'll talk to you later. And in fact, Jamie says, it was great meeting you, Evan, but I should go wish Kathy a happy birthday. I look forward to seeing you again.
Great. So they've broken the ice. They are friends on Facebook now. They're going to contact each other in the future, and they have something in common there. And yes, it was great meeting you. That's a good way to end a conversation, and then you're free to go on to meet some other people because indeed, this is a birthday party for Kathy. And as we all know, Kathy is an extremely charming and popular person, so there are probably dozens and dozens of people there at the party. Lots of opportunities to make some new friends. So yes, indeed, they should meet some new people, but they still need to do the most important thing. They need to wish the birthday girl a happy birthday. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。对话第二幕是关于寻找共同的兴趣。 Evan 就问 Jamie 有空的时候喜欢做什么。那 Jamie 说 I'm a huge movie buff. I have a soft spot for indie movies and go to film festivals every chance I get. 我是个电影迷，我对独立电影情有独钟，有机会也会去影展。那我们先来看 buff 这个字呢，它是指爱好者或者是行家或者是迷。A movie buff 就是电影迷。那么 buff 的意思就跟 fan 或者是 enthusiast 差不多。enthusiast 它是拼作 E-N-T-H-U-S-I-A-S-T，它是指说对什么什么热衷的人。好，那我们在这个月绕口令那一课也有介绍到几个名词，像说 fanatic 还有 maniac 还有 freak 都可以用来表达什么什么的迷，我们就可以用 a movie maniac 或者是 a movie freak 等等来指电影迷。好，另外文中的 have a soft spot for 加上名词，它表示钟爱什么什么。 Soft spot 是指对某人或某事的强烈喜爱。当我们说 have a soft spot for somebody or something， 就像是说我们心里有一部分是软的，对某个人或某事物会特别的心软，那就可以用来表达对某人或某事物情有独钟，无法招架，然后你无法解释的特别喜爱这个东西或这个人。例如 She has a soft spot for donuts， 她对甜甜圈无法招架，她非常爱甜甜圈。好，那么 Jamie 听到 Evan 喜欢摄影，就想要把自己的朋友 Claire 介绍给他认识，没想到这两个人早就认识了。而且 Jamie 会认识 Claire 是因为他去年在美术馆碰巧遇到 Claire 还有 Kathy， 然后 Kathy 介绍他们两个互相认识。接着 Claire 就说 Speaking of that museum, it has a great photography exhibit coming up。说到那个美术馆，最近将有一个很棒的摄影展。我们句子里面用到一个片语介系词叫 speaking of， 它表示说到什么什么，讲到什么什么，后面可以接名词或动名词，用来引出跟前文相关的其他话题。像假设你们可能有在聊游泳之类的，然后你就可以说 Speaking of swimming, have you ever tried snorkeling？ 说到游泳，你有玩过浮潜吗？那我们顺便补充一个相似的用法，叫做 when it comes to。 when it comes to 它表示谈到什么什么的时候，就什么什么而论，后面也是接名词或动名词。那这个用语是用来带出跟主题相关的资讯。例如 It's important to know your limits when it comes to swimming。 就游泳而论，知道自己的极限在哪里是很重要的。好，那么以上是这些重点整理，我们来回顾这些单字吧。
Photography. Steve asked a friend to give him some tips for improving his photography skills. Visual. It's well known that visual aids help students retain information better. Composition. The artist's approach to composition really sets her apart from others of her time.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.